What's up, everybody? This is BakaBites. I'm Frankfurter. That is Magically Average. And today we are going to do a weekly wrap up. We are going to go over a handful of bigger news articles that have come out within the past week or so that we decided that we wanted to talk about, but not do a specific one episode for each topic. So we're going to take about 15 to 20 minutes on each topic and just kind of go through them. We've got 3 topics tonight. The first one, I feel like we're going to kind of breeze through just a wee bit, and that is an update on the David Wald situation. And when I say update, I really mean the lack of an update. It's
Yeah.
been just over a week. He tweeted out on November 11th that he was going to go on to his Twitch and basically announced that he's not returning to Crunchyroll. Their abusers are far too numerous to list here, but soon I will tell you all of them, and I will do it on Twitch. And it's been over a week. We haven't heard anything. And I think that this is, I had some speculation to it, and you being Mr. Lawyer, I think you kind of agreed with me in which he did seek a lawyer. I think the reason we haven't heard anything from him is because he does want to have a lawsuit filed. And when you have a lawsuit filed, you can't really come out and openly talk about it. And so I feel like he got the advice of a lawyer and said, "Hey, I want to talk about this on my Twitch channel. Can I do that?" And they're like, "Absolutely not." And that's why we haven't heard anything. But it's kind of
Yeah.
weird considering the situation of how much he's been saying but not saying on Twitter. And yeah, I don't know. What is it? Does any of this kind of scream anything to you?
Well, so one point of clarification is that David Wald said that he's not going to be returning as Gajeel or Gaheel. I can't remember how to pronounce it. Not a big fan
Right.
of Fairy Tale, but
Mhm.
his character in Fairy Tale, and he specifically won't be returning to the Crunchyroll studio. He made a tweet later on saying that he's not precluding himself from being on other anime that will stream on Crunchyroll. He's just saying that he won't be recording anymore at Crunchyroll Studio. Um,
Yeah.
he made his tweet on November 11th, basically just talking about that, or stating that there being Crunchyroll abuses are far too numerous to list here, but soon I will tell you all of them, and I will do that here. And he links his Twitch, which you've said already he hasn't done so, and it's been over a week since he announced it. But he's gone through and replied to a lot of people because obviously tons of fans have reached out and been, shared their thoughts and remorse for him leaving. One person said, "Do you know if anyone else is going through the same thing, or has it only been just been happening to you?" Referring to like other voice actors that routinely go and record at Crunchyroll. And David Wald responded with, "I would say that everyone who works there is being abused, but the stories of others are not mine to tell. I can only tell mine. I have plenty to talk about." End quote. So it
It's kind
he's
of a nothing burger.
yeah, I mean, he goes through, like I mentioned, he said like, they're gonna he's likely gonna work in other titles. He responded to someone else who where he said, quote, "It's possible you may hear me in other titles on their service, but those will be titles recorded at another studio. Crunchyroll is a serious abuser, and I will no longer be one of their abused." End quote. When we had talked about this and seen everything sort of unfold, albeit very vaguely unfold, we'll say,
Yeah.
the speculation was that when he's referring to abuse, like it could be financial abuse, it could be mental abuse, it could be psychological abuse. We really don't know. We don't know any of the specifics behind it, but it was enough to have David Wald go from, "Hey, fans, if you've been sending me mail, I just found out they've been opening it," to, "By the way, I'm piecing out. Crunchyroll can pound sand, kick rocks. I'm not going to record there anymore." So, I mean, something drastic happened in between those two periods of time, right? So, the
Yeah, like
unfortunate
this must have been an ongoing thing to the point, like other
it
things must have been ongoing, and the male thing would have been the last straw to break the camel's back.
I that's the only thing I can speculate as well, because it would be surprising to me for someone who has been involved in a lot of large anime titles, especially of late too, in big roles, to step away so abruptly. especially like
Yeah.
basically mid-season. So because someone had mentioned like, oh, are you, it's weird that you wouldn't at least finish this season of Fairy Tale before leaving. And his response was just like, you have to call out abuse when you see it. Yeah, I have the tweet up now. Response, the person tweeted, I get it, but I wish you would just finish the show, then cut ties. It's only 25 episodes, and this will make a lot of people sad, including myself. There's no one that can replace you. So they're kind of like doing a blame, like, man, you really should just finish it up, but then finished it with like
Yeah.
a kind of a sentimental note.
But like, we love you.
Yeah. But then David Wald replied, quote, I would love it if I could do that in good conscience, but abuse doesn't end until the abused speak out, and they have benefited far too long from our silence. No more. End quote. So yeah, I mean, the thing that we can tie something to at least is that we've known for quite some time that Crunchyroll has been financially like strangleholding its voice actors and limiting royalties and things like that. Like we had word from the English voice actors on Jujutsu Kaisen 0, the movie, that like
The top billed voice actor for that movie, I think, only made about $1,000.
yeah, with no royalties too. So like
Yeah.
no
But then
returns on any of the merchandising or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, this is just kind of a we've talked about in the past, just a general problem in the anime industry as a whole, even in Japan, because
Yeah.
none of the artists get any royalties or anything. Like, none of the actual creators get any of the royalties outside of maybe a director.
Yeah.
Potentially. Even then, probably not.
So
I think that, like, it having just a voice dub is even harder to feasibly be like, well, we'll give you royalties for this if you do this.
yeah.
So it's just
So many ads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
It's sad.
No, it's very unfortunate, right? Especially
Yeah.
since Crunchyroll is domestically the biggest streamer for anime, like hands down. So the last thing we want as fans obviously is to start seeing a diminishing returns on the anime that they're streaming. But at the same time, I want voice actors and creators to come out and stand up for themselves, because yeah, I mean, like, abusive workplaces are abusive workplaces. It doesn't matter if you're working at just a regular blue collar, white collar job, or if you're in like the entertainment industry, like if you're doing any sort of voice acting or regular acting. It doesn't matter. Like, abuse is abuse. It should be spoken out about. I just it's concerning when we get this big update, we get this huge announcement, and we're waiting for like the moment of backlash, right? And it's been silent, both from David Wald and from Crunchyroll, right? Like we only heard from Crunchyroll after the mail opening thing, and they made a statement, and it was pretty lax. There wasn't much sustenance to it. It was just kind of fluff, almost like it was. Yeah, it didn't mean anything. It wasn't
Right.
It wasn't what we wanted to hear. It's just what they were willing to put out there, and then it was like, whatever.
And it doesn't help that since they said that we're going to look into this in Word Salad, different news sites and different people or by different people, I believe David Wald has reached out, and they just have not gotten a reply as to any findings or anything. Like, it has been radio silence on both ends.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
it's pretty telling.
It's something simple too. Is just like, I think David Wald mentioned, like, he hasn't even received like a formal apology, or like, like, we're sorry. It's our mistake. It's our fault. We take responsibility. It was basically like we understand that you feel bad because this has happened. Like that weird reverse of an apology where it's like, we're not admitting that we did anything wrong, nor are we saying we should be apologetic for what we did. If anything, we're saying that we feel bad because you feel bad. We're sorry for you.
They can't admit fault by saying sorry, but at the same time, they're trying to say sorry without admitting fault.
So it's just, this whole situation is very odd, again, from the standpoint that we haven't there's been nothing. It has been total silence on both sides, and it's like it's like waiting for the bomb to go off, right?
Yeah.
You're just like you're hearing the ticking, like someone's gonna cut the wire. Is it gonna be safe, or are we all gonna die?
Yeah,
It's just
playing what's the fucking game where one person's reading off instructions and the other
keep
person's trying to
talking and no
defuse.
one
Yeah,
explodes. I think, yeah,
yeah, something
it's
like that.
yeah, it's just it's but that's not what we want. Like we would rather I would rather have just a weekly update to say, hey, we are looking into this. Hey, we have reached out to David, like coming from Crunchyroll, right? Like, hey, we've reached out to
Right.
David Wald, and we're talking with David, and we're trying to start a dialogue. But the fact that there's been nothing from Crunchyroll and there's been like no reveal from David, so it's just all these like rumors spiraling around is just not a good look at
No,
all.
and again, I think it's because lawyers are getting involved, and I
Yeah, no
think because
doubt.
of that, I think because of that, there's nothing that either side can really say.
One
So,
other one other interesting piece to this, and because I don't know the specifics of how the contracts work at Crunchyroll, but I recently watched a video that I kind of shocked me because I didn't realize how this was set up. But Richard Horowitz, who's voiced a ton of Cartoon Network and now voices one of the characters on Hell of a Boss, he's like the voice of Billy from Billy and Mandy and Zim from Invader Zim. I believe his name is Richard Horowitz.
yeah, Richard Stephen Horowitz.
Yeah. He was on a podcast or some show talking about voicing like early days in Cartoon Network, and they had mentioned something about like, oh, is like it must be nice to have a contract or like, a guaranteed role. And he was like, "Oh no. No, how it was at Cartoon Network is that you were contracted per episode. So there wasn't ever a guarantee that I would continue to be the voice of this character because I would come in and I would sign a contract for an episode and do the voice, and then I'd sign a contract for the next episode and so on." And I was like, "Oh my God, how stressful would that be? Like you think you're locked in, you're gonna be the star or one of the characters of an animated series, and you're basically day to day. You're basically
Yeah.
you're episode to episode. It's in constant flux. Now that could have been early days of Cartoon Network, like during that time period of like uncertainty with how many episodes they're gonna have for the TV show. That could have been it. But like just hearing it from a voice actor again for like some very notable characters on Cartoon Network, it was kind of eye opening. So I don't know if that's how Crunchyroll set up too, where you're like you are episode to episode, or if you were like, nope, you're slotted for this season is 25, you're slotted for 25. That could go into this whole issue with the silence that he's still trying to break his contract, because he might
Yeah,
he might have a clause in there that basically prohibits him from speaking out on anything that's transpiring. It has to go through litigation or arbitration or whatever. So there's just I really wish this would have all come out at like I wish everything happened behind the closed curtains, and then once it was
settled
finally,
or happening.
yeah, like once they could start the open discussions, then it was revealed, right? It
Yeah,
was
I
it,
agree.
it came out then because yeah, the rumor mill spinning around and creating all these different like tales of what could be happening at Crunchyroll, like what did David Wald go through is just not good for any party, because like some people are thinking of the worst for David Wald and some people are thinking of the worst for Crunchyroll, and we don't know. There's too many uncertainties.
Yeah, and I do want to point out one last thing before we move on to our next topic. We did make an episode about this before, this topic specifically, and one of the things that we did not, or we kind of brought up, but we didn't have the information for back then was why were people sending packages to David Wald at Crunchyroll in the past?
Yeah.
We were like, that seems kind of silly. It was because in the past, voice actors were encouraged to tell fans to send the packages there
Yeah.
if they didn't have a PO box. So we found out that he was telling people like, "Hey, I don't have a PO box. Send it to the Crunchyroll address. I'll get it there."
Because
which now begs the other question of legality. If was it addressed to David Wald? Was it addressed to Crunchyroll? Was it addressed to
I
his character who doesn't exist in real life?
yeah,
Like that's where the next part of just like the if this does go to a lawsuit, what does that look like?
I think it also goes to show you like how unaware voice actors were at that time versus now. Because obviously, anime has grown in popularity tremendously over the last handful of years. More just due to
Yeah.
the fact that there's more people
The pan-
interested in Japanese
the pandemic
culture.
really pushed
Oh,
that in the
oh
United
yeah,
States.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and then the anime being streamed on other sites too, like Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and things like that. Um, but like I think back then, again, I made this comment too. I bet most people had no idea who the voices for the characters were, like the actual person behind them. Like some of them knew a handful of people just because of their notoriety, like Chris Sabat and Steve Bloom and the person that we're not going to mention. Um, but like other voice actors were like, no one cares about me. They care about the character, right? Nowadays,
Yeah.
it's like you can't. Most people know you for all your characters. Like, oh, if you're a fan of Bryce Papenbrook, it's like, oh, you can't step. You can't scroll through like one page of Crunchyroll without seeing at least one or two anime that he voices on, and like all these other notable characters. So I mean, that could have been it too, because yeah, I think he made a comment too on his original tweet about the packages, saying like, I never had a PO box, but I probably should look into it. And I was like, yeah, might not be a bad idea now.
Yeah, not too shabby now.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to our next topic because yeah, I feel like there's no real big update we can give until we get one.
Yeah.
But the next one that we wanted to talk about, and I know that we've talked about this as a broader topic in the past, but Assassination Classroom, the manga, is being banned in multiple schools and school districts. There's a school district in South Carolina. There's a school district in Florida,
Yep.
and I don't even know what state the third article you sent me was,
I
but
think it's all the same, but it's
yeah, it's just
I'm
different school districts, and it's really weird, and it's really
so
seems
fucking
dumb. It seems dumb. People who are just seeing the cover and seeing Assassination Classroom, and I to an extent I understand. With, I mean, granted, we
so
never went through what.
no, yeah. I know what you were gonna say. We don't have to say
Yeah,
it. It the context of everything matters. Like we all, again, in the United States specifically, we if you this is it feels like in the news almost every other week that there's something tragic happening in our schools. So having a manga named Assassination Classroom, obviously, appetite wise, probably not going to be received well.
no,
The issue though that I have is like, again, the title is not flattering, but like the reasoning why was just like, oh, there's like weapons and stuff, and it talks about killing. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but that's like a lot of other fiction, not even manga. Like that's in novels routinely. Like I remember reading books in like freshman year of high school and in middle school, I think, and junior high, of like, very much mature type settings that, I'm sure if the people that whine and complain could read would want that banned as well. But
yeah,
it's like my frustration is more from the reasoning and the complaints than the actual like substance behind the book. Because if someone came out and said, hey, our school district has had multiple events take place, it is very sensitive, we are very alert of this, we don't want this to be something that could potentially promote or incite high emotions because of the title and the content. Now, again, It is fiction at the end of the day. I think everyone can acknowledge that. But given the material, that it should be treaded upon lightly. If they came at it like that, I'd be like, all right, understandable. Their issue is just, it's got guns and killing. And I'm like, what fucking fiction book that kids want to read doesn't have that shit?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, that part is frustrating. I also find it, I'm so heated too, because there's been this like initiative from certain states in the South, it's not surprising to anyone, that they're like, we need to put the Bible back into schools. We need to put Jesus back in front of kids. Kids should be reading the Bible. And I'm like, okay, let's ignore the fact that there's like murder in it and rape in it and lots of extra murder in it as well. There's tons of murder. There's murder constantly. But yeah, like that's fine. It's, it's a religious text. It's all about God and everything. Yeah, of course. Then, okay, why don't we put other religious texts in there, like the Quran and like from other religions? Oh, wait, was that bad? Oh, okay, because it promotes other right. Okay, have you read the Bible? Do you know about the okay? All right, like
Yeah.
it's just that part. It is frustrating and it's annoying that this is continuously happening. If you ever read Fahrenheit 451, you should take notes, people.
Favorite book, actually, unironically, growing up, like when I was in high school.
Mine was Animal Farm.
Fair enough.
George Orwell. It's a solid book.
Yep. I will say, I'm after reading through everything real quick. The first and third article you said is specifically Assassination Classroom.
Yep.
However, the middle article,
Yeah,
it is
this one.
Sasaki Miyano, which is a boy love.
This one, I don't even want to give the light of day to the
It's
people,
really stupid.
to the people behind it. Yeah.
Their complaint about Sasaki Miyano, just for the people who are listening, just to give it a little bit of
Oh,
context.
and I have the article up too.
No, I know you do.
And I will
The
highlight.
reason it doesn't reach any level of why it should be banned. There's no good reason, and the people who banned it did not give a good reason for it. But the person who complained about it said that it could lead to, quote, compulsive masturbation.
Yep.
You have a fucking high schooler. Of course they're masturbating. Like they're a high schooler. That's what high schoolers do.
Yep.
Like, what are you talking about? It's baffling how stupid people are and how out of touch they can be.
I'll give you one better.
No.
Further down, the article goes on to continue with a quote from a book review committee member for the Brevard County schools in Florida, to say that from Michael Howell, who stated, quote, the problem is that a book like this can be used to push an agenda, end quote.
Baffling. It's dumb. This whole thing is dumb. Banning books is dumb. Why? Like we have the internet. If you're gonna ban it for them reading, physically, they're just gonna find it on the internet and read it on the internet. Because when you take away something from a kid, what are they gonna want? Thing you took away. They're gonna want to masturbate. That's what they're gonna do.
You want to hear something better? First off, too, like what year is it? 1970, where people still masturbate to like physical? Like they're gonna jerk it to like physical books. They're just gonna use their every kid has an iPhone by the age of like 2. Like every kid knows how to surf the web better than you by 5. Like whatever. Another great quote, just because I want to make fun of the idiocy that is the people that I'm just gonna say it, the right-wing idiots, because it is right-wingers. Sorry if you lean that way politically, it just is. But the book, I'm gonna continue reading the article from Florida. The school board banned a book that does not violate HB 1069, which it spells out, I guess, which ones can be or can't be banned, or at least like the parameters for how they can ban. The book is neither inappropriate or pornographic content. Although, this is my favorite part, board chair Megan Wright did confess she disliked the fact that the book had to be read from back to front and right to left.
The traditional form of writing in
I'm writing
Japanese.
Japanese. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh my God. I really hope these people don't travel because they would shit themselves. If they left their little like fucking hole that they live in, it would be pandemonium. They
Most of the
would,
country drives on the left, or most of the world drives on the left side of the road. Like the
yeah.
fucking people
It's
are actually courteous on escalators where they stand on one side while the other side is for walking. Like people are so fucking stupid and out of touch. They live in their own little bubble. It's frustrating because these books they're just books. They're harmless. Like they're nothing to be scared of. Even Assassination Classroom 4, as damning of a title as it is, it's literally about aliens. It is
yeah.
about trying to kill an alien who just so happens to be a teacher and teaches the children life lessons. Like it is not a bad story. It is I've watched the entirety of the anime. I haven't read it to be completely truthful. But the anime itself is wonderful. It's fantastic and it made me cry by the end of it. But like
Oh
at
yeah.
the end of the day, it's a story about aliens teaching children about how to be human essentially. And it baffles me that
Yeah.
we're in 2024, nearly 2025, and we're still banning books for the
I
dumbest reasons possible.
yeah. So some of the last comments I'm going to make on this again because I at this point I have to laugh to mask the fury that
Rage.
resides within me. Going on to the article from Otaku USA, they talk about the mother that made the complaint.
About Assassination Classroom.
Yeah,
Yeah, this one.
unsure if this is the same mother, but Jennifer Hannigan. Oh no, it says the mother. Okay, so the mother that made the complaint.
I think this is a different school county, by the way, from the first one.
You might be
Horry
right.
County in South Carolina, and then this is just Harry County or Horry County in God knows where.
Let's see. Yeah, Horry County was in South Carolina. This one is. Does it
No,
say
this is
which?
South Carolina. So yeah,
So it's the same
that's weird.
county. It's the same
It's
county.
the same county, so I'm wondering because in the Anime News Network it says that the ninth grader complained about it, while this article says the mom complained about it.
I
So
mean,
maybe they're both complaining
maybe they're
about it.
both
Who
complaining.
knows?
Yeah, but Jennifer Hannigan, the mother, and the original article from Anime News Network, we talked about the fact that they were referencing like the knives and handguns and killing and stuff like that. The Otaku News Network or the Otaku USA magazine article says that Jennifer Hannigan made the complaint and made a quote to them saying, "Even if I didn't have children, I would not want a child to read this book." End quote. She particularly took offense to the comedy science fiction's portrayal of violence. The line that is again the most infuriating, but I have to laugh at it because it just goes to show you the idiocy of today's day and age of parents and sheltering kids and whatnot. Jennifer Hannigan is quoted as saying, "We're giving them too much adult material than their brains can handle, and I think that's a problem." I don't understand what that means.
What's
As
adult and what
shocking
isn't?
as shocking as it may seem, kids eventually by I want to say like 11 to 12 is the age group that scientists have determined this, but like kids like around that age start to develop like autonomy and self-awareness to the point where
Yeah.
they can start making decisions on their own. Now, it doesn't have to be massive decisions. It could be very small decisions, but it's the point at which they start to develop the cognitive abilities to make decisions rationally based on experiences and knowledge of the world. We're talking about high school kids. These kids probably watch worse things than this that aren't
I think
even anime.
I think I was in 7th grade or 6th grade when I watched my first rated R movie, which was The Terminator.
Oh,
That's a way worse than Assassination Classroom.
I watched Happy Tree Friends in like 5th grade.
Oh God, you're bringing me way back. I forgot
Yeah,
all
like
about
do you
Happy
remember?
Tree
Yeah,
Friends.
Happy Tree Friends.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a blast from the
yeah.
past.
Fucking, I was watching like Aqua Teen Hunger Force and oh God, what was the one by the Archer creators? It was like their original one. Fuck, It's so
I don't know.
funny. It's like I'm gonna forget it. Whatever.
Squidbillies?
No, not Squidbillies. This is like way before. It was like a water, like they had a water fort or something. It was just like two characters like trapped in the ocean. It's so funny.
Man, I don't know.
I can't remember it. Anyway, like it's very. I hate when things like this, like major decisions are made. That again, at the end of the day, it's a manga. Okay, the issue is more around like the banning of books and limiting people's ability to read what they want to read and watch what they want to watch, so long as it's legal. Like there's nothing illegal about Assassination Classroom. It's just parents trying to helicopter like supervise their kids to be like, no, you can't read this because you're not smart enough to understand it.
Maybe your kid's just dumb.
Yeah, maybe your kid's a fucking moron. Like,
Also,
it sucks to
was
suck.
the show you're thinking of C-Lab 2020?
Yes, C-Lab 2020. Yeah.
Oh my god. I looked up the creator
Yeah.
of Archer and I went to his page and I was like, holy
C-Lab
fuck. I haven't
2020.
heard of some of these shows in forever. Because
Yeah.
he's also created High Noon Tunes,
Yep.
C-Lab 2021, 12-Ounce Mouse, Frisky Dingo,
Oh, yeah,
the
Frisky Dingo.
the Extacles,
I think I watched a little bit of the Extacles.
the Crooked Sip. He helped create Robot Chicken. Or no, he was an actor.
Yeah, Robot Chicken had everything under the sun. Another one that I watched
Yeah.
a lot of that was inappropriate.
Archer, and then he did Unsupervised and Chosen as executive producer.
The book
yeah.
banning is stupid. Like, just
The book banning is dumb. People are dumb. People are going to continue to be dumb.
yeah. Why do you think people made such a like? People were up in arms when they banned Catcher in the Rye. It's
Yeah,
like for really good reasons too.
Since it's
Like,
just it's so fucking
again,
banning books is dumb.
Read Fahrenheit 451 if you want to understand the frustration that we're trying to, portray, I guess.
Last news story of the day, which is a very recent one. It actually happened today, Tuesday the 19th, which I'm glad we postponed.
Yeah.
We postponed recording because it always seems to be the day.
We really gotta
Tuesday.
I think we gotta start just recording on Tuesdays and figuring out a different schedule, because we record Monday and we're just like, yeah, we're all caught up to speed. All this stuff happened over the weekend, and then Tuesday rolls around and it's like BT Dubs, the Earth's about to die, and we're like, fuck, man, like we just made an episode. Like, come on.
But if you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know this news,
well, in fairness, it happened 10 hours ago, so it's okay.
You've been living under the rock on Tuesday the 19th, and you're listening to this on Wednesday the 20th. Sony is in talks to buying out Kadokawa.
Yeah.
Which is fucking huge for multiple reasons, and this is one that I think is bad for business on a lot of different things. And let's start with what we're our bread and butter anime. This is just vertical transition being a monopoly. This is just trying to buy more because Sony founded Aniplex, which has, I don't know, maybe close to 20 what the fuck is it called?
A lot.
Yeah, they have like 20 different subsidiaries, which are animation studios themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, they've got that. They've got Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll also bought Right Stuff. They also had Funimation. Like, they have so much, and now they're trying to buy Kadokawa, which is arguably second to third largest publisher in the United States, let alone Japan, for manga. So now you're trying to get in even more. Like, you're not going to be able to get Viz. Viz is just too big for their britches. I don't think Viz would even consider selling to begin with.
No.
But Kadokawa, which is a rather large company itself, that's a different story. They're like, okay, maybe we have a shot at this. Let's try buying them, because they align with the anime and manga because they have a fuck ton of series under their belts. And they also align with video games as well, because I believe FromSoft is under the Kadokawa brand, which I don't know if Bandai Namco is under that as as
I know. I think Bandai Namco is the
they're just
publisher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then FromSoft is under Kadokawa, which would be another big plus for Sony, aka PlayStation, because they generally try to get exclusives from software. They have a lot in the past. I think the last one that they had that was exclusive was Bloodborne because Elden Ring came out everywhere.
Yeah.
So this would just further push along or kick along the can of exclusivity on PlayStation while narrowing down where you can get your anime and manga from one company, and it just controls that market even further. And I really hope that there is some one of the government agencies, whether it be the United States, the UK, or Europe, or whomever, just says fucking no. Sony, you can't do this. If you want to buy FromSoft, that's one story, but no.
Yeah.
And even then, I don't think buying FromSoft would be a good idea for the fact that we've seen all of the consolidation that Xbox has had this past year and how that has affected Activision Blizzard and all the layoffs we've had there, let alone every other company that's had major layoffs. Whenever you consolidate and you buy companies like this, you have layoffs because you have redundancy. And it's not
So,
the companies unfortunately see it as redundancy and as a number, and you get fired. So I think that this is bad for business because the consumer's only getting it from one spot, and it's just bad for their workers as well because then they have to compete for their job.
so I'm going to talk on the reverse side, be the glass
Okay,
half full person.
sure.
Starting off with a couple of facts. So Sony already has a roughly 14% stake in From Software. They also have a 2% stake in Kadokawa. On the surface, those don't seem big. But keep in mind that in business, a 51% stake means you have total control
Yeah.
over the company. Right? You don't have to have 100% to control the company. You just have to have a 51% stake if you're a publicly traded company for purposes of like basically doing anything related to stockholder shares or decision making with boards and things like that. So understanding that Sony already has a stake in this, it's not, we can kind of temper some of the fears there. The other thing too is, and this is kind of a wild stat, realizing just how big Sony is too. So Kadokawa has market capitalization was around $2.7 billion prior to the report. It was at 23% share closed at at leading up to this announcement. So their shares went up nice.
And they haven't denied that this is happening either, which is kind of
They
telling as well.
yeah, so that was the one thing I was going to finish with too, to say like they have
Oh, sorry, I
stated.
jumped
Oh,
ahead
you're good.
then.
You're good. I'm trying to find where it says in the article. I think it's in our one on Gametsu. Update was at 5 a.m. This morning, I would think. Yep. That Nikkei, which is a Japanese news source, has reported that negotiations are currently in the early stages. So there are negotiations taking place.
Yeah. So
The
there are a couple things that are also under Kadokawa or Kadokawa. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing that. That I didn't
Kadokawa, yeah.
actually realize were under their branch. One I should have known, but I didn't, and that is Bookwalker. Bookwalker is a huge digital company in which you can buy and read digital manga on
hmm
their app, whether it be in Japanese or in English. So that would be a huge acquisition for them because now instead of I know Crunchyroll had a really shitty manga app, but now you can have a new manga app under the Sony branch.
Yep.
But also under the video game side, I didn't realize that Kadokawa also owns Spike Chunsoft, which
Yep.
is the video game developer that's behind like Danganronpa, uh, Jump Force, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, AI, the Somnium Files. Like they have a handful of really pretty big titles under their belts that is just like, oh shit, yeah, they do also do this as well. So it wouldn't just be FromSoft. I think
S-
Spike Chun Software is kind of a low key, like
yeah.
pretty big deal,
The
especially for video games because those games do have a cult following. I know that I do like a handful of these as well. So
yeah. Again, on the glass half full side too, in relation to all the subsidiaries as well, the articles say that Sony is in talks to acquire Kadokawa. Not to say that there's going to be a merger, right? So it might
Right.
not be in the same instance of the Funimation Crunchyroll situation where AT&T sold its rights to Sony, right? Where basically they were just like, we're gonna outright sell everything to you. Here you go. Here we're handing over the keys. Take it as you want, right, Sony? And then Sony was like, cool. We're just gonna basically shut down our site, which is our streaming site Funimation, and just transition over to Crunchyroll. This could be a situation where it's just like, hey, as Sony, we just want to have a majority stake in your operations and give you the resources on our side to do more. Main one being, because this one kind of sticks out in the one article we're showing from Gemetsu.
Brooders. Oh,
No, from Gemetsu. Kadokawa Game Linkage, which operates major media like Famitsu and Dengeki, is also a game publisher. So you have the developers, the game developers like Acquire, From Software, Gacha Gacha Games, Spike Chunsoft, but then you also have the game publisher side. So they might just be trying to not monopolize, but keep everything in-house from a game developing and publishing perspective. It could be that. Now we're focusing highly on the game side. Both articles do say though that there is a push likely to, focus in on the movies and anime as well. So unclear, uncertain what that could do. It might just mean it could be simply mean that anything that is a Kadokawa IP is exclusively going to be on Crunchyroll, right? Just like how High Dive has basically exclusive ownership over Shueisha.
Sentai Filmworks.
Yeah, Sentai Filmworks. They might just be doing that.
Shueisha's Viz. It's
not
Shonen Jump.
not Shueisha. Sentai Filmworks. So like Sony might be doing the same thing, like getting basically exclusive rights, because in fairness, the anime streaming market is getting very challenging. There's a lot of streaming sites now that are vying for the IP, right? It's not like the old days where it's just the Crunchyroll and Funimation. You have High Dive now, you have Hulu now, you have Netflix that's jumped in. You're getting shit that's coming out on Cartoon Network, like Toonami. You're getting stuff on Max. Like it's becoming more challenging. It's not like a guarantee that you're going to be streaming the top hits each season now. You're kind of fighting for it. So they could be trying to put their foot down and really get a strangle on, like, hey, this is our IP now, so we get the exclusive streaming rights to it once we acquire or get a majority stake in Kadokawa.
Which honestly, they would just be getting the exclusive rights for series, but most of them are already legitimately on Crunchyroll, and people view them on Crunchyroll.
No, I
there
know.
are only maybe two series that I can think of from Kadokawa, which I need to double check if one actually is. Which, give me a second.
Well, I'll talk.
It's not. It's a 7 Seas. There's only one series right now that I can think of off the top of my head that is exclusive to High Dive, and that is When Will a Yumu Make His Move? The other series that I was thinking may have been Kadokawa was Made in Abyss, but no, it's not. That's 7 Seas. So it's one of those things, like, everything is already on Crunchyroll. Basically, they would just be like, hey, stream here because we have exclusivity now.
Again, this is all speculation. If you want my true, honest, like, put on the tinfoil hat, here's what's going to happen if this does take place, or here's the reason why they're in talks. I honestly think that they're mainly going into it just for the video game side. And I think the bonus of having the anime, the anime side to all of this as well, is that now you can start developing anime from your video games. Because a lot of people would love a Dark Souls anime. You already have the manga. You can make it into an anime. Bloodborne anime. Elden Ring anime. Like the list goes on and on. Like, you can go through all the different titles from all the different, like, subsidiaries of Kadokawa that they could transition into an anime if they want. I know we already have the Danganronpa anime. There's also a Persona anime too, I think, right?
Oh, it's the Persona 5, the animation is awful. Persona
Yeah.
4, the animation is actually legitimately pretty good, and then the Persona 3 movies, I only remember about half of them, but I
Yeah.
remember it being pretty solid.
But like, yeah, I mean, the, I hate doing like a we just don't know it yet enough, just like the David Wald situation. But I mean,
Yeah.
this is early talks, right? It does seem like there is going to be some sort of transaction that takes place, whether it's Sony acquiring a stake in Kadokawa, Sony taking full rights over some of the subsidiaries, or I would say honestly, this is would be the worst case scenario. Sony acquiring and merging Kadokawa, like basically kind of
Yeah.
big whale. They might do opposite. They might do minnow whale, where they're like we are acquiring Kadokawa, but technically we're staying under their name and like transferring all of our assets there, right? They could do something like that, which is weird, but I mean it's happened before, certainly. It's just it's really unclear how far along we are, because I don't imagine that the negotiations just started. I'm sure there have been conversations that have taken place behind closed doors that were, no one's going to be privy to other than the higher execs between the two companies, right? And maybe some shareholders that have stakes in both. But like at the end of the day, I don't foresee this being a massive upheaval in the video game industry, the movie industry, or the anime industry. I think if anything, it might result in some interesting new projects, but it's not as egregious as the streaming service acquisition where everything kind of now funneled under one company and you had more
Right.
competition. This more seems just like Sony saying, "Hey, we really like what you're doing, Kadokawa. We want your IP," rather than fighting against other competitors for it, whether it's for publishing rights or whatever the
Time
case might
exclusive
be.
rights for consoles or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the case might be, we just want to effectively own the majority stake in you, so that way we can establish this exclusivity, right?
That's
And we could
fair.
they could say, but we are leaving all decision making to you still. We are
Yeah.
just your big papa money bags. That's all
You
we
gotta
are.
you gotta make us the money now, and
Yeah.
you better make it. But no, to me, I know you kind of talked about your piece. I would still think it's the opposite. I don't think it's a video game thing. I don't think that's the main reason for the acquisition or the attempted acquisition. Only time will tell, as we've talked about. But I think, in my opinion, they're doing this for not necessarily even the anime side. I don't think they're doing it for the video games or the anime. I think they are doing it specifically for the manga, because I don't think Crunchyroll has necessarily a publisher in general. Like they correct me if I'm wrong, either in the comments or you yourself. I don't think that they have a foot in publishing manga physically. They have the retail side on the United States, but they don't have the publishing side. They don't have Shueisha, Kodokawa, Seven Seas, fuck, what's the
Dark
other
Horse,
Square Enix, Dark Horse. There's one other big one that I'm missing that I
Viz,
can't remember. Yen Press.
Yen Press.
Yeah, like they don't have one of those companies. I think that more so anything, this is them trying to get their foothold into the digital and physical manga world of publishing itself. So that way they're bringing in that revenue, and they're also bringing in that sales revenue as well.
Yeah. I mean,
That would be my thought process as to what they're getting, because they have their foot already in video games. They already have like a huge foot in video games. They have a huge foot in the anime industry. They don't have a huge foot in the manga industry. And I think that that's what their angle is with this acquisition, in my opinion. This is just my opinion, my speculation, because again,
your
we don't
tinfoil
know what
hat.
yeah, this is my tinfoil hat, because I don't again, we don't know enough information. It's very early talks. If they try to do the whole acquisition of Kadokawa as a whole, I think that some governing site is going to step in and say, no, you can't do this. This is way
Yeah.
too much.
Well, they're
pick one or the other and cherry pick that, or they might just be increasing their percentage from 14 point whatever to like 30% stake. Who
yeah,
knows? We'll
yeah.
find out, but that's my
The,
tinfoil hat as to what's going on.
I mean, I can confidently say though that this is not as egregious as the Penguin House.
Yeah, that one was pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, that was like almost monopolizing Western publishing and
Yeah.
distribution of manga. Like that was going to be like a serious no. That's why the I think the governing body would be the SEC cracked down and was like, yeah, no, that's nice try.
SEC or
I think it's the SEC.
would it not be the FTC, the Fair Trade Commission?
I don't think it would be the F. No, it could be the FTC. SEC is like the. I
One of
think they think they're one that's the one with like the anti. What the hell is it called?
We just
Whatever.
need more civics lessons as to what these fucking things are.
I just need to go back to law school again, I guess. It's late, my brain's slow, but yeah, I'm holding
This
out hope. I
pretty-
don't think this is going to be anything. It's not going to be something where people should be rioting in the streets. We'll just leave it at that. I don't think it's going to be anything that people are going to take immediate notice to either, in terms of like what's being published or what's being distributed or what's being streamed. It doesn't, like I think it's really just a matter of IP and like even there's a quote from the CEO of Sony that says lovable characters and intellectual property can live for 30, 50, or 100 years. So it's just
Yeah.
like that, and they then goes on to say, "quote That's something we want to make investment in for sustainable growth." End quote. So I mean, I am gonna stick by my tin hat theory of this is primarily just to get their hands on the exclusivity rights to a lot of the IP that Kadokawa is creating, because they're making fantastic stuff, whether it's video games or the different
Manga.
anime or manga or whatever the case might be. Like they're making fantastic stuff year in and year out. I think Sony's just like, hey, we want to have exclusivity rights to that content so that we can give you more avenues to have creative freedom to do with it, whether it's make it into a movie, make it into an anime if you're a video game, or whatever the case might be. We just want to have the power to own that, but give you limitless freedom to create what you want. Again, we're just going to be big bad money dad over here doling out the cash, but you got to give us returns, baby.
But we gotta see more than we're putting in, or else you're getting the can. But yeah, no, that's we'll find out, I'm sure, in the near future as to what the heck is going on, because these things never hide. Like big companies like this, they never hide for too long as to what their intentions are.
No.
So, but thank you all for joining us this week. We greatly appreciate it. If you made it this far, we greatly appreciate you. Even if you listen for just 5 minutes, we do see the analytics. I definitely follow them a lot, so thank you for listening.
Not sure how you heard this message if you only listened to 5 minutes, unless you listened to the last 5
Exactly.
minutes, which in that case, you're probably confused.
Very confused. This is not a manga. We don't go from the back end to the front.
Nope.
But thank
And
you.
if we
again for
did,
joining us.
we'd be banned in Florida.
Yes, we would. We will be back next week with a brand new episode. I have a few things that I have planned that I want to do for shorts on TikTok. I know, finally. Yeah, well, that too. But I'll be discussing it here with him. But we've got some shorts on TikTok that we're posting infrequently. We try to do weekly, and it's too much.
Life happens.
Life has a way.
Yeah.
Life finds a way. But
Of kicking you right in the nads.
if you want to follow us on social media, we are on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. So follow us there for more, not daily, weekly content. But until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.